What's the most special part about playing here at UBS Arena for you?
Everything. I mean, all of it. I think it's a great place, great fans. Yeah.
Pulls up, Shabanov returns it, wide open, kicked out,
Anthony, can the Islanders salvage this homestand?
If they beat Colorado, which would be, obviously a big achievement considering they lost once in regulation, they would finish this homestand 3-3-1. So, homestand of 3-3-1 is kind of just meh. But, if you can get to that point by beating a team like the Colorado Avalanche, then yes, absolutely. Since they got back from the road trip, their scoring kind of dried up a little bit. They haven't been scoring as much as they did when they were on that, 7-game road trip when they went 6-1. They're not really playing bad hockey. They haven't been scoring with that much consistency as they were when they were out west. Outside of the Philly game where they scored 3, they were either scoring 0, 1. Last night they scored twice and they won. So, that's not even that many goals, but at least, thankfully Sorokin was outstanding, and that's why they won. But even the game they beat Seattle, their other win on the trip, they technically got shut out. They just won the shootout. So definitely the lack of scoring since they've come home has hurt them. But again, their attention to detail, they are playing good hockey. The pucks just aren't going in, and hopefully that will beating a team that in the Lightning that were red hot. They were a 7-game winning streak. Maybe that will turn the tide a little bit, but. Despite maybe not having the best homestand, they're still 3 points out of first. So still in a good spot. They just need to start finding the back of the net again. Now, obviously, Kyle Palmieri is going to hurt them. That loss, being out for the remainder of the season with the ACL injury. He was playing great hockey. He was playing on the top power play line. He was playing well at even strength. So he's a big loss. But now. This opens the door for Maxim Shabanov to move up in the lineup, which he has been, and he's looked really good next to Horvat, so that's certainly encouraging. But there's no doubt you're going to miss a guy like Palmieri because, he's not like big in terms of like height, but he's a bull. He plays hard. He goes to the net. He kills penalties. So he's certainly going to be a loss. So, but like what you have to have in sports is the next man up mentality. So. I think they'll be okay, but certainly are going to feel it. But speaking of him, though, further detail, that play where he tore his ACL on was really, really cool to see. I mean, this is a guy that I've never torn my ACL, so I don't know what it feels like. But from the face he made when his knee bent, you knew he was in absolute pain. But despite that pain, to have the presence of mind to be like, I'm gonna pick this guy's pocket and then make the backhand sauce pass to Drouin. To set up the Heineman goal was just incredible. And he went right down the tunnel after. So there was no no, it was just, in that moment, he did what he had to do for the team. And he made a really big play. And listen, not to be dramatic or anything, but we know in this sport, every point matters. They got that goal kicked off the 3-goal comeback. They were down 3-0. They lost in a shootout. They got a point. But let's say they make the playoffs by a point, you could look back to that and be like, Palmieri started that comeback. He kick-started it, and don't fool yourself. The boys on the bench just see the guy blow out his knee, and the fact that he made that play, that fired them up. So hopefully he can kind of rebound quick and, get back next year. But yeah, he's a loss, but tomorrow's a big test against Colorado. It goes without saying, they are an absolute wagon. They played them well in Colorado. Patrick Waugh actually called it their best game of the trip, even though that's the only one they lost. So we'll see if they could bring that same effort because they're going to need it. Colorado's going to come out and do what they always do and just try to run you into the ground with their skill. So, but yeah, if they could get a win tomorrow, that would obviously be fantastic.
We're going to be talking more about that Colorado game in a minute, but first, let's go get our thoughts on the rest of this. Phil, again, the Kyle Palmieri thing, like you talk about a roller coaster of emotions. You go from damn, is he okay, to, oh, we scored a goal, and damn, is he okay again?
Yeah, I mean, Brian's comment was kind of on absolute horse with the play. Like, and Anthony is right. That's the type of galvanizing moment where, like, you say to yourself, like, wow, like, this guy is willing to go to hell and back to make sure that this team wins, despite even sustaining what he didn't know what would be a. Well, he probably knew.
Yeah.
So he at the time probably knew what he was. I mean, if you could have read lips, probably would have muttered the F word at that time, and that probably would have been the word.
Pretty sure he screamed it out, Phil.
Yeah, he probably. If it wasn't a scream, it was a mutter. But besides the point, all I gotta say is that I wish guys on my team, the team that I watch and cover, played with that type of dedication and passion and intensity. Oh, a Daryl Sador reference from Brian. Well done, sir. Well done. Well done. Even though I disagree with you on the rev, by the way. Yeah, I will say that you gotta have efforts like that. And that's the type of moment that he comes together and they're like, hey, if he's gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And you know, when you were talking about that next man up mentality, that's where the next man says, you know what? I'm going to do that. There's a message, there's a direction, and there's intention there. And that's the way that this team has been playing all year. Again, they've had some tough teams coming up. The next few games are against some pretty tough teams. Yes, I know they just beat Tampa, but if anything, if you see what Tampa did after, their loss to the Rangers in Tampa, something tells me that the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to come out pretty damn fast and intense in that game on Saturday. So, I mean, they have a beat-up Florida team after that. You have a pretty good Vegas team, and then Anaheim after that, and then Tampa again, and then Detroit. So this stretch is going to be tough for the Islanders. We're going to see what they're made of.
Right now, I'm pretty confident the Islanders can make the playoffs right now, because I put them ahead of.
They're close.
I put them ahead of the Flyers, who are getting a lot out of Dan Vladar right now. I put them ahead of the Penguins, even though they're all tied in points and the other teams have games at hand. I'm not that confident on them. One good thing that came out of the Pajot injury is that Cal Ritchie has played phenomenal for them so far. Another assist last night. You gotta love what he's been bringing to the lineup day in and day out for the Islanders. You also look at the play of Sorokin, who made a great save on Anthony Cirelli.
Yeah,
I think it was midway through the second. A little bit of a partial break, and that's a big save. Just keep treading water, keep getting points, and this is a tough stretch. You look at this stretch. You still got the best team in the NHL, the Atlantic Division leader, the possible Pacific leaders to give it on their day, because you got them back to back in Anaheim and Vegas, and then you get Tampa again, and don't forget the Stanley Cup champions that are in the middle, who is the team everybody's striving for. So I think the Islanders can still just keep working through this, and this is where Patrick Roy is at his best as a coach, of getting guys up for games and getting them motivated. And I'm not a big believer in Patrick Roy, but this is actually where he excels. If you just keep the motor going, that's it. But there is actually another headline that comes out of the next game. I talked about Cal Ritchie. Let's not forget how the Islanders got Cal Ritchie, because the guy that they sent there was none other than Brock Nelson. Anthony, he returns to UBS tomorrow night. Give me your thoughts on Brock Nelson and the legacy that he left.
I mean, if you're talking, and especially if you're talking longevity too, post dynasty players. So you put him in the category of, Paulty, Turgeon, LaFontaine, Tavares. Nelson had one of the most successful careers of the Islander players that fit in that category. I mean, we talked about it before he got traded. Like, if he would have re-signed and finished his career there, how far he would have moved up on a lot of these lists. In goals, I think he sits fourth or fifth maybe. So
he's fifth with 295.
Yeah, so he's he built a really good legacy here on the island. He was always a player that kind of came in with some, decent expectations. I mean, he was a 30th overall pick out of North Dakota, but he was expected to be that next rise of players coming up with kind of like Ryan Strome, and some of those other guys didn't work out. Nelson, Lee, they hit him, and earlier in his career, Nelson looked like just kind of like a middling 20-goal guy that kind of just disappeared at times. But then Barry Trotz transformed him. When Barry Trotz came, he turned into a monster. I mean, he became a really, really high quality two-way center, as well as a guy that now all of a sudden now he's just scoring 20 goals, but he's approaching 40, and he competes every night. So he was a guy that it was tough to see him go, and seeing him in a New Jersey for the first time hurt a little bit, but I get why he did it. He was getting a little older. He didn't maybe know which direction the Islanders were going in, and he saw a chance to win a cup. So certainly don't fault him for that. And him leaving also netted them Callum Ritchie, as you said, Mark. So I think it worked out for both teams. But yeah, I expect him to get a video tribute, obviously. Standing O, similar Marchand this year. It's not going to surprise me if he gets fairly emotional during it too, because 2 days before he was traded, he was the first star of the game, and Shannon Hogan was interviewing him, and she asked at the time, what does it mean to play here? Because we all knew that his status was up in the air, and in that moment he was getting choked up. So his first time back, I think it's going to be a roller coaster of emotions for him. But it was tough to see him go. Wish him all the best. He had a hell of a night the other night for Colorado, and he deserves to win. We'll see if he can get it done this year. But unlike the reaction when Tavares came back, we all know how that went. He's gonna get a really, really warm welcome tomorrow, and it's well deserved.
To put it in perspective, Anthony talked about how he was a late first-round pick out of North Dakota out of the NCAA, who for a while looked like a middling player, 20-goal guy, and then kind of, Barry Trotz came along and he exploded and became a much better player, to the point where he even made an international team roster. I think Nelson absolutely deserves to have that video tribute and the standing ovation that he's going to get. You can talk about the retirement issue. I don't know if I would necessarily retire his number. He's 8th all-time in points, 5th in goals. For a younger generation that didn't get to see those guys, Brock Nelson was probably someone that everyone looked up to as an Islander fan. He's going to be looked at in a very, very positive light forever when it comes to Islanders and their fans. I imagine that once his career is all said and done, I could see him coming back to the island and being a part of the organization in some sort of capacity, whether it's management, whether it's PR, whether it's brand ambassador, something like that. I mean, he fits everything that he said about the island. I know we talked about Tavares and the comments that he made leading up to when he left, and how a lot of it was deception, and how someone at the bottom there called him. What was it? Snake was the animal that you used to describe him.
Yeah.
But Brock Nelson has been the antithesis of that. All the accolades and all the praise that he's going to get from the Islanders and their fans, he deserves it. Good guy.
There are those players that you can look over and go, what generation did they play in? Brock Nelson could have been a New York Islander in any generation and succeeded. I think when I think about the Islanders over the last, the post-Barry Trotz era, with all due respect to anyone else that contributed for that team, I think about like Adam Pollock, Barzell, obviously. I think of Brock Nelson. I don't think of anybody else. And not many people reach this new gear in their 30s, but he was given more opportunity and a little bit more responsibility. And once that happened, he took off. And hey, more power to him. And now he is a guy that you talk about with Team USA. Look, Brock Nelson, he's going to deserve all the accolades. They had to rip that Islander jersey off of him. Lou Lamoriello did not want to trade Brock Nelson. And when he got back at King's ransom. And he could have gone to Winnipeg, which really would have helped them. Would help Winnipeg, but wasn't really feeling that.
Lou only traded him because Melton didn't, accept any of his offers. So if it was up to Lou, Nelson would still be here, and they wouldn't have Callum Ritchie, a big building block of going forward. So Nelson did them a favor, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's an interesting discussion that you bring up too, because if Nelson was here right now, you think this team would be in a playoff spot? Like, I think you think like one of the 3 playoff spots and not a wild card.
I mean, I don't know, because if Nelson's here, someone else maybe. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, it's tough to say. I don't know.
Let me flip that around. If Nelson is with the Islanders, is Colorado the wagon that they are right now?
Probably, yeah.
I still think Colorado would be a pretty good team. But again, I've said this for years, and this goes back to the Igor argument every time. You build down the middle to win.
Mm-hmm.
And Colorado has incredibly strong center depth with McKinnon and Nelson as a one. I mean, McKinnon is playing like the best player in the world right now. We all talk about McDavid, but McKinnon is the guy. Like, he's scoring at over 1.5 per game pace. Like, that's nuts right now. And then you have Nelson that comes in, and he's a good, solid two-way guy. All situations, Swiss Army knife. Yeah, I mean, Colorado would still be a really good team, but having someone like Brock Nelson as your number 2 center definitely helps.
But Nelson is that second-line center that Colorado's been lacking since Nazem Kadri left.
Yeah, and Casey Middlestat didn't do it for them.
No. I mean, Casey Middlestat hasn't done it for anybody, so that's the other way to look at it.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.